We still hustle daily. What's going on, Hustle Nation? Welcome back to another video. It's your boy Big Play Ray coming to y'all with another video. In this video, we got a woman who is cheating on her husband. Holy! So she about to tell us a story about how she cheated on her husband. That's crazy. But hey, let's hear the whole story. Make sure y'all like the video. I appreciate y'all. Love y'all for all y'all support. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. I love y'all. Y'all could be anywhere else in the world, but y'all here with me, and I greatly appreciate y'all. All right. So we about to get right into it. Story time on how she's cheating on her husband. Holy! Let's get it.
I'm cheating on my husband, and I finally have the balls to tell the world. I told him. And of course, you know, he didn't handle it how we would want him to handle it. But, I mean, it's what, you know, he is expected to do. So anyways, I wanted to come on here to tell the whole story of how it all happened, what's going on, who it is, all of that. So first, I want to start by saying, I don't promote cheating on your spouse. It's definitely not something, you know, that we should be doing as women. It's negatively looked upon, so don't take this video as that. And if it's a trigger, I'm sorry. But it all started, so I started having a friendship with this particular person, and it's actually a friend of my husband as well. And we just have been hanging out around him a lot lately. We started out with just simple conversation, like we were friends, but we ended up kind of pushing it past that a little, not a little. I'll get into how far. But we ended up kind of like secretly seeing each other, trying to find ways to see each other, and doing that behind my husband's back. Part 2 of what's going on with me cheating on my husband. So we ended up with me writing love letters and stuff. So I started really growing feelings for him. And I never thought that you could for two people. I thought that as women or men, like it's like you love one person and that's it. However, not true. So I started going back to like back in the days where I just started writing him love letters and stuff, and we would secretly pass it to each other. I didn't want like the evidence on my phone too much. So I started writing him these little notes and like making them into like straw looking paper, and I would pass them to him whenever he would come around. And he kept them, I guess. And he would read them and we would smile and stuff at each other. And I mean, we still texted each other. It was a lot of like deleting messages and then going to recently deleted and deleting those as well. And that's the furthest of how we were communicating before we started becoming physical, which I'll explain a little more in part 3. Okay, so this is part 3. So now that the like building the connection part has passed, we ended up starting to do like stuff secretly when my husband and I would go over to his house. And whenever we would go over there, I would try to go over there more, obviously, because I really wanted to see him. And I did feel bad for my husband. Like it was sad to know what I was doing, knowing that he really loves me the way he does, but I really did not care. I still wanted to always go around this other guy. I think the reason was because I couldn't believe that there was someone else besides my husband that I really am like emotionally attached to now. So this is a big deal for me, at least. And this is all part of the conversation that I had with my husband. So anyways, we have been going around to his house a lot more often. He also has a daughter, so we bring, like, you know, our children over there. And the last time we went over there is when it really hit the fan. So a lot of weird stuff started happening, and it started becoming, I started getting like really scared because my husband was doing a lot of acting suspicious. Like, he was looking through stuff, and I got nervous. Because I knew, and I had a feeling that this guy was saving all of my love letters. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope he does not have my love letters around here somewhere. Because, oh my gosh, if my husband finds them, I would be heartbroken. Okay, so now the bedroom search. So we are at my, I guess, lovers will call him. That is so wrong, but we're at my lover's house, and my husband started to, like I said, kind of just look around a lot. So he was looking through like the stuff that was on, you know, his desk, and he had like a dresser. Like, his room was really big, so like we would sit like on the couch in there and stuff like that, and his daughter's room was, you know, around the corner. But anyways, we were in there, and my husband was like looking through like at trophies and papers and stuff. Anyways, he had my straw like letters. He had them posted up on the shelf inside of his room. And for some reason, I don't know why, of course, but my husband ended up like grabbing the stack of them. It looked like sage, basically, like when you have like the sticks and stuff. It was like thin straw like that. So my husband ended up grabbing them and became suspicious. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are these? This is weird, like wrapped up paper. Like, I wonder what this is. So I'm looking because I know what they are. Like, I'm like on the bed, kind of like this, and I'm just, you know, looking at my husband in front of me with these papers in his hand. And I'm getting super nervous because I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna look at these letters, and he knows how I write. He knows how I talk. So I started getting really nervous. My heart is pounding even thinking about it. So while he's holding these letters in his hand, I'm like kicking him, like, hey, what are you doing? Why are you going through this guy's stuff? And he's like, you know, this is one of my best friends. So, you know, this is weird. Like, don't you think it's weird? What the hell? I'm sorry, what the heck? So I'm like, no, that's not weird. Like, don't go through his stuff. That's personal. This is our friend. Why are you doing that? Anyways, he didn't give a shit. They're friends. So he ended up unrolling one of the papers. Heart, like I said, is super pounding. The whole time that he is doing this, the guy is in another room, wrapped in a towel, because I just came out of there. I'm nervous for him because I know my husband's temper, and I know that this is it. I knew this was it. I knew that my husband was gonna put the two and two together. I was so shocked that not only was I that freaking dumb, but this guy was. Like, why are you saving these letters? Who in their right mind knows what we're doing? Mind you, this is his friend. I am his wife. Why are you saving letters from me? Now, my husband is reading the letters. He's reading them. And they're not like long love letters like back in the day where you wrote like 4-page letters. Shout out to Leah. So it was like really probably about 2 paragraphs. Front page, super small, like small notebook paper. So they're like not too long. He probably took about 1.5 minutes to read each letter. I think he read about 2 or 3. When he was reading them, like I said, I was losing it. Who wouldn't, right? Their husband is reading love letters that his wife wrote to another man that she's falling in love with, and that person just happens to be his friend. Might I add, his friend that I frequently want to hang out with because of his daughter. That's kind of the excuse that we like to use. Plus he had a really beautiful house. Like, we just love being over there because it was a nice house. He was a little more well off. Not a little more. He was very well off. So my husband's heart dropped. I can see the pain and how he felt. And he just looked at me. And I looked at him and kind of just dropped back like this. And that's when all hell broke loose. So now my husband knows. He asked me clearly, is this you? Did you write these letters? He asked me for my phone as well. So of course, like I said, I'm deleting the messages and I'm going like into like every part of my phone that I can to make sure that I delete like even the recently deleted. However, if he kept the letters, this guy, right? Who's not to say he didn't keep the text messages, right? Like I said, if you know that this is something that you're doing that's wrong, why hold evidence? What does holding evidence do for you? I think he was, like I said, I was falling in love. I was getting emotionally attached. But I think for him, it was more like, I don't know if he kept them to throw in my husband's face. I don't know if he kept them because he was also feeling the same. So like this was all he had to hold on to because he knew that I was married. And I mean, I wasn't planning at that time to get a divorce. I knew eventually it was coming because, like I said, I didn't think that I would feel this way for somebody else besides my husband. But, you know, it was eventually going to hit the fan and we were going to lead to the negative side of marriage and the ending part. So, of course, my husband also asks Guy to see his phone. Wow. When he asked Guy to see his phone, he gave it to him so willingly. So I'm confident. I'm like, oh, he's not going to see anything. He would not have handed him the phone that quickly. So once again, I'm just laying on his bed. I thought it was weird. I mean, if it was me and I was in the situation that my husband was in, I would have been a little annoyed that he was laying on the bed. However, at that time, I mean, what's the worst that could happen, right? So anyways, my husband now has Guy's phone and he's looking through it. Sure enough, this guy had me in his phone as soon to be wife. That was my name in his phone. So my husband goes into soon to be wife because this guy didn't have a girlfriend. He didn't have like he didn't have anything that he had going on with another woman besides me, of course. So my husband did go into those text messages and he started reading. When he started reading the messages, there was a lot. I mean, he was talking about what we did in the room. He was talking about emotions. I was doing the same. You can see the look on my husband's face. Because like I said, we were really having grown folks conversations, going into some deep stuff. In there, the part that I regret the most was not that we were talking about grown up stuff. It was not that we were talking about emotions. It wasn't that we were like, it wasn't what you would think it would be. The worst part was I was telling him the ways that I was planning to leave my husband. That's the part that broke my heart, I think, for my husband, because now he knows that I was planning to leave him for this guy. Now, to be honest with you guys, I really wasn't. I think that I was just playing the game and trying to make like this guy like me or fall in love with me. You know, you play the game when you're talking to someone else. It's fun. Men do it. Women do it the same way, FYI. So the sad part was that my husband is reading these messages of me telling this guy how I am planning to leave him, kids and all. My husband confirms with both Guy and I, and we admitted it. We told him everything right there. Like we said, yep, this is what it is. What you're reading is us. So every time that my husband and I would joke about like me cheating on him, he's like, girl, you will be in a grave, you and whoever it is, and you're never gonna leave me, blah, blah, blah. However, in this moment, he did not react that way. He did not. He reacted very calmly. Like I said, I can see that he was very hurt. Like I can see it. I know him. He's my husband. So he acted very calmly and like very mature, very demure. I don't even know if I used that correctly, but anyways, he acted very calm and he just left. He left me there with the guy. Mind you, he's still in a towel. Left me there with him and took the two kids. We only had AJ and Aliyah with us. So I didn't stay there. When he did leave with the kids, I didn't stay there because now at this point I knew that he knows. So for some reason, like, I was sad. I was mad that he didn't get like, he didn't react like he always said he would. So I'm like, does he not love me anymore? And because I felt like that, I'm like, oh my God, I have to go chase him. Like I have to figure out why the hell, he didn't handle it. Like he wasn't mad. I expected him to be mad. I think I would have been okay with the decision if he was mad, but he wasn't mad. He was just like, okay, whatever. And he left with my kids. And I really was just like, this is weird. I need to chase after him and see what's going on. So I ended up leaving the guy there and, getting the car and driving to my husband's mom's house, which is where I expected he would be. And she lived like on the top of a hill. And he went, when I pulled up, there was a U-Haul truck. So I didn't leave immediately. Let me put that. I waited a little bit. I probably waited like 20 minutes, maybe an hour, maybe 2. But I waited a little bit of time. And then I ended up going, like I said. So when I get to his mom's house, like I said, there was a U-Haul truck there. And my heart dropped because I'm like, oh my gosh, immediately he is moving out and, already has his stuff in this U-Haul truck. Like, it's like it happened so fast. So I'm like, oh my gosh, he's leaving me for real. And I pull up to his mom's house and he, like I said, he was so calm. The kids were inside with his mom and he was taking his stuff. He didn't take everything from me. He just took what he thought was rightfully his, which was perfectly fine. We weren't like we weren't gonna go crazy about whose is what and all of that. However, when I got there, he just walked away from me. I mean, he, like I said, he wasn't arguing, he wasn't being mean or anything. He just walked away. He didn't want anything to do with the whole situation anymore. I could tell. So, like I said, that broke my heart. And I tried to talk to his mom and see like where her mind was, where his mind was. And she was just like, I don't know what to tell you. He didn't tell me the full story. I just know that he asked me if he can come back and he's here. So, I was taken aback. Like, you're really going to end our whole marriage just because of that? So what I already explained in the videos, what do you think your husband was going to do? He did the right thing. My next set of videos are going to explain what he really did. So of course, I thought he got his stuff and he went up the street, to his mom's. Well, not up the street. She just lived on a hill, with his U-Haul, and he left. That's not where it ended. It really got bad on his part. And I'll kind of give more context to it. But no, he did act calm, but it was the calm before the real storm. And that's to come when I provide a little more context to it. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and just say that that's not how it ended. It wasn't as calm as it may sound because he took a U-Haul and just got a couple of things. So did you go back and hang out with the guy? So the guy, I will continue to call him Guy. He was calling my phone. He was texting me a lot. He was trying to make me go back to him. I guess at this point he realized that now it's the time for me to really make the decision. So he was calling me a lot, texting me. Now I was at my husband's mom's house because he had the U-Haul truck up there. So I was ignoring the calls and stuff. And I'm not gonna get to the part yet of me going back, or if I didn't or anything like that. I will just say that he didn't leave me alone that exact day. He did continue to call. Eventually I did respond, and I'll let you know about that as well. But okay, so now I'm gonna tell a little more about the story and how he handled it for real. So I left off where he kind of just walked out of the house and he took the kids, and I left a little after. Like I said, it was probably an hour or two. And I knew he was going to be at his mom's house. So, I didn't know, but I decided, let me just go check there, because that's usually when we used to argue, like in the beginning of our relationship, that's like always where he went. He was just with his mom. It's his comfort zone, of course. So anyways, I'm at his mom's house still, and the kids are there, and I'm talking to his mom about like the situation. Like I said, she doesn't really know what's going on. He really didn't give her too much context, and we both agreed that we really wouldn't do that if we were arguing. We didn't want a lot of like friends and family to know. So while I'm talking to her, we're just having a conversation, and he ends up leaving and going somewhere. I didn't have the authority I felt at that time I didn't have the authority to say, hey, where are you going? So I kind of just let him do his thing and take the car that he left. And I didn't want to be there too much longer, like hanging out. And his mom said that she would keep the kids. She didn't feel comfortable with me taking them or him taking them even. So I ended up leaving, and I went to the gas station, to get myself something to drink, just regular little gas station stuff. I know that my tire pressure was low on my left side. I remember it. And then I had to put gas in the car because I was going to be probably driving around for a little bit. I didn't really know where I was going to go at that point, but I knew that I didn't want to go home because him and the kids weren't there. I didn't want to stay at his mom's house. And I didn't decide yet if I wanted to go back to Guy for that night. So I decided, let me just go fill the tank up, get myself some snacks, and I'll probably do like the ride around, listen to music like I used to do back in the days. So I'm at the gas station, and usually when we went to put gas in the car, we fill it up. Who wants to go put $5? I mean, whatever, to each their own. So I swiped my card at the pump. I'm paying at the pump, and it kept saying like the card's not working. However, I know our credit limit, so I knew I definitely do have the funds available to be able to fill the car up. So I go inside and I'm like, oh, the pump is not working. She said to try to do it there. So I tried to pay inside. So I didn't use the credit card to pay for like the snacks or whatever. I just used a regular debit card. But I tried to use the credit card to pay for the gas to fill it up. So I told them put 60 on pump 4. I think it was pump 4. Don't hold me to that. And he had canceled my card. So I grabbed another credit card and I'm like, okay, let me just try a different one. If I'm thinking he canceled the card, he wouldn't think to cancel them all. I don't know what I was thinking at that time, but I was like, let me try a different card, one of the other credit cards. They all declined as well. So I found myself in a stuck position. Of course, it was understandable. Great, you canceled all the credit cards. So I ended up going into the car and calling all the credit card companies and trying to see what happened. Like, why are the cards declining? And also, I was just wanting to confirm what I obviously knew. And he did. He removed me as an authorized user. I no longer had access to use his credit cards. It was 2 or 3 of them. It was 3. So I went back in with my debit card and I tried to use that. Our bank account is a joint account. So because he left so smoothly, just, took the U-Haul and only got what was rightfully his and what, it was fine. Whatever he took, it was fine. I didn't think that there was going to come more stuff was going to come. So I didn't expect that now our joint account was going to be affected. However, when I went back in, I wasn't able to buy anything else with my debit card, which, like I said, it's a joint account. It's both of our funds. Now the debit card is declining. So at this point, I'm pissed. I'm like, this is my money too. What the fuck? Why the fuck can't I use my own money, my debit card? He took everything out of our bank account. So, like I said, the whole time when I was at Guy's house, I was nervous because I'm like, oh my gosh, he's not reacting how he's always said he would. He's just leaving. But the first thing he did was take all of my funds availability away. I had nothing. I think my tank was probably it was close to half a tank. So I had nothing. I had no money. None of the credit cards were working. So my only option was either to go to Guy's house, or I could decide to drive around with what I have, or I can just say fuck it and go home. So I decided, I guess the best thing to do because of everything that happened was to go home. And that's what I did. I wasn't far from home. I ended up going to the house. Why did I go to the house? When I pulled up to the house, Anthony was there. and Guy's car was there. I found it weird because Guy stopped calling and texting me like he was when I was at Anthony's mom's house. He wasn't bothering me as much. And then, Anthony leaves, and now all of a sudden I'm not getting any more calls. I'm not getting any more text messages. So I go to our house, and like I said, in the driveway was Anthony's car and Guy's car. The house wasn't lit up like they were, in the house. All I could notice was that the kitchen light was on. And my heart dropped because I'm like, oh my gosh, is he handling it how he said he was going to handle it? You know how I said he was going to handle it. So I open my door and I get out the car and I go to grab the door handle, and the door was already kind of opened a little bit. Like I don't know why they didn't close it, but the door was a little open and I can see them both standing by the island in the kitchen. And it was loud. They were talking very loudly. So I kind of was standing there to hear and be nosy and hear what they were talking about. And my husband was being very aggressive. Anthony ended up going up to him like super close to his face. He was really in his face. And Guy is not like a small guy. I feel like him and Anthony are kind of the same size. So neither of them were like backing down. I don't know if it's because, they know each other. They're friends, right? But I can see that my husband did have protection, I would say. I don't want to say, specifically what it is, but he was protected. So at this point, I'm super nervous. I ended up going into the kitchen and I'm just like, okay, this is something we all should be talking about. We're all adults, and it wasn't just Guy's problem. It was mine as well. So Anthony just kind of pushed me off. He didn't hit me. He pushed me off to the side and told me to shut the fuck up and let him handle it like a man. And of course, I just kind of stepped off and sat there and let them continue on with the conversation. But I was getting pissed by what was being communicated between the both of them. Okay, y'all. So, I was standing there in the kitchen, and Guy and my husband were getting into a kind of an elevated conversation. They were saying stuff that didn't need to be said. So I did end up, contacting the authorities and having them come in to kind of just de-escalate the situation and make sure that it doesn't go anywhere, and, just make sure everything was okay. So they did end up coming, and they ended up taking or having Anthony leave. So we're at my house, and yes, he had to leave the house. Anthony ended up leaving, and everybody else also left with him. And Guy and I decided that he was gonna stay with me because it was a lot to, kind of just grasp everything that happened in just this day. So Guy did decide, it would be best if he stayed, and I was fine with that. So we both stayed at my house. So Guy did end up telling me some stuff, that he felt I should know. I guess since he was heated, it was like, okay, that was my friend, but since, he wants to act like that, I don't know what his point was, but this is what I was thinking in my head. So now I'm going to get all the tea on what, he knows about my husband, which obviously was one of his best friends. So he starts telling me just some stuff, like little things that I had suspicions of, but never had like solid proof or evidence. Like, I never asked Guy about it because, you know, that's not even his place. But so he started telling me things that I had suspicions about, so he kind of confirmed them for me. Like, you know, my husband just talking to other women and just things that made the whole reaction that my husband had, it made it make sense at that point to me. Because I'm like I said, he always said that if I did something and he caught me, it would be out of control. However, Guy kept feeding me more and more tea, and it was hurting me. So he told me. So Guy ended up telling me about a situation that I had no suspicion of at all. I guess, I mean, he didn't have a suspicion of me, but I had no suspicions of at all. So we ended up putting on like just some music in the background, and I remember having the fireplace like on YouTube just playing. There was no like sound or anything coming from the YouTube, but we did have music on in the background. And I can tell that Guy could see that I was trying to reach out to Anthony, because I was trying to contact my husband and see where he was, what he was doing, was he okay. I wanted to make sure that like nothing happened once they made him leave the house. But he wasn't responding to me. He wasn't answering my text messages. He wasn't answering my calls. He was literally just ignoring me. And I was getting a bit like sad or like bothered by it, because I wanted to know where he was going. I wanted to see, you know, what he had going on. And he wasn't responding. So Guy could see that I was trying to, you know, not contact, but he seen that I was very like involved in my phone. I was just paying my phone so much attention. So I'm sure that he kind of put two and two together, that I was trying to reach out to my husband, which I can tell bothered him. But at that moment, like with everything that happened for the day, I just felt like it was necessary. I felt like I needed to check in on my husband. And I wasn't getting a response for some. So Anthony's not answering any of my text messages. And Guy can kind of tell, of course, that I'm bothered. So I don't know if the next piece of information he gave me is because he can tell this and he wanted me to be solely focused on him. But it was a bomb. It was a real bomb. Like, it was a heart bomb. It was really painful. So anyways, he ends up telling me about this person that we all know, a mutual part of, you know, our circle of friends. I wouldn't say friends, but like our mutual circle of people we know. She's probably been like just kind of around for like 7 years that I can count. And Guy ended up saying that, you know, he kind of hinted that he tried to say without saying that there was something going on. So of course I tried to pry it out of him. I'm like, you know, what's the... So he ended up, you know, just telling me, hey, you know, she's actually been dealing with Anthony, and that's why she's been around. So that's why we go around her, you know, and her kid. Like I said, we also have children together, and they're smaller. So she has a 4-year-old that, you know, we bring around. And Guy ends up telling me, you know, they've been dealing with each other for... So we're having the conversation, and he's breaking it down about little pieces of time that my husband was away in Alabama. And there was a time he said that his phone broke. There was like this crazy storm, and there was a big puddle in front of the hotel that he was supposed to stay at, and his phone fell into it and it broke. I was calling the hotel. They weren't, he wasn't answering the hotel phone. He wasn't answering his phone. It was going straight to voicemail. So guy ended up releasing to me at this time that it was because he was with this girl. Putting two and two together. So I'm like, okay, this is why. This was the calmness. This makes so much sense. Like it makes so much freaking sense. So then guy did say, like, did she ever tell you about like her daughter? Her daughter's 4 years old. Like, did she ever tell you, like where she came? Like, who did you ever meet her? The father of her daughter? Like, he never comes around. He was just kind of like asking me questions about the daughter. So I've never been suspicious of this child that's been coming around, or this girl that's been coming around. But guy was kind of hinting like there's something I should be questioning when it comes to her 4-year-old. Mind you, remember, we knew her 7 years. I've never seen a guy around. And she did give me some crazy story about how she ended up with her daughter. And I didn't question it because I didn't care. But I never seen like a guy, like there was never a guy around. So he's trying to kind of hint something to this. I can tell. So now that he's raised my suspicion on this girl, of course, I had her phone number. So first I tried to call Anthony to try to get a little more explanation on all the details that I just found out that guy has told me about this girl. Now don't exclude the fact that there's more. It wasn't just her. There were way more. And I'm finding all this out. So, but this one was a little more intense because it wasn't just a hit and quit type of situation. There was possibly something that came out of it. So I try to call him first, of course, try to call my husband. He's not answering his phone. I try to text him. He's not responding. Eventually, it was started to go to voicemail, and none of my texts were going through. They weren't saying delivered. They were just, kind of like someone had you blocked. So I tried to call him blocked, and it wasn't going through, which made me feel like maybe his phone died. He's like a person who doesn't really care about charging his phone or anything like that. So I was just like, oh, okay. Kind of felt a sense of relief, like, his phone died. That's why he's not responding to me. He's not responding to me because he just doesn't want to talk to me. His phone is just dead. So because he wasn't answering, I decided, well, let me go ahead and try to call her. Guy's just sitting there calm as ever on his phone, scrolling down his TikToks, while I'm over here pacing back and forth trying to figure out, what's coming out of that situation now. So I called her. Her phone rang, but she wasn't picking up the phone. I called her again. Still no answer. I tried a third time. On the third time, she did answer the phone. When she did answer, I tried to just act like there was nothing to there's no reason for my call. I'm just checking in. So I'm like, hey, what are you doing? However, it was really quiet and she was acting a bit weird. So in my mind in that moment, I'm trying to, I feel like my mind was putting two and two together. Like, okay, his phone is off. I thought it died. And she wasn't answering the phone. She's acting weird. It's super quiet. I don't even hear her 4-year-old in the background. And it wasn't, it just wasn't the normal scenario or situation that I normally have when I talk to her. So, I asked her, how's your daughter doing? And she awkwardly is responding to my questions. And I came flat out. And I asked her, like, hey, like, I've heard some, some stuff about you and my husband. Like, is there something that, you feel like I should know? So her response to that was, no. There's nothing. Well, I mean, I asked her what was going on with her and my husband, and she just said nothing. There's nothing. So, I told her about, like, what I heard, and, she said, of course, that guy was lying. And then I asked her about her daughter, and I don't think that her daughter looks like my husband, like, at all. But you never fucking know these days with kids. So she kind of felt disrespected by that and was fine with taking a DNA test, the lie detector. She was bringing up all the things she can do to prove that, nothing went on with her and my husband. So I asked her, I was like, is he there? Because I'm calling his phone and he's not answering, you weren't answering. And I just flat out asked her, is he there? She said no. So after a couple minutes, anyways, I didn't know whether to believe her or not, because I don't really know her. Like I said, we didn't really have like a real, like, tight ass friendship. It was more so like, just kid stuff, like we were with Guy. But yeah, that was how that rumor that he tried to start, that was how that ended. Nothing too dramatic. So I don't know if anything else he told me at this point was true, and he did tell me some other stuff. So I was a bit annoyed because, like I said, I don't know what to believe at this point now, because I don't really know her, and Guy has really been around so long with Anthony, but then I didn't know at that point what his intentions were with telling me like this type of information. So I had to take everything he said with a grain of salt. So then he ended up telling me about the story about a time when my husband was in Alabama, and I was trying to reach my husband. We had just got off the phone, so probably about 2 hours later, before I went to bed, I was trying to give him a call, and his phone was going straight to voicemail. He was at a hotel at this point because he went on a work trip, and he wasn't answering the phone. So now, mind you, I didn't tell Guy any of this story. Like, this is not a conversation we had, but he said, remember that time when your husband was in Alabama and you were trying to call him, but it was going straight to voicemail. The girl who I just got off the phone with was in Alabama with him. So that kind of validated it for me that she was lying, because, like I said, I didn't tell Guy about the Alabama story. But he also gave more detail on what happened that night. And what happened is, I tried to call the hotel. I even had one of my friends try to call the hotel because, we were calling the hotel phone and he wasn't answering. So I called the hotel and told them to do a wellness check. They, for some reason, wouldn't help me out. I don't know but anyways, one of my friends ended up calling the hotel and telling them, unfortunately, my sister keeps calling. You guys are not doing a wellness check. I need you to go and check on the room. So my friend was able to get them to go knock on my husband's hotel door and do like a safety check and make sure that he was fine, because she explained that we're trying to call him, we're trying to text him, it's going to voicemail. His room phone is not working, or he's not picking it up. So the front desk, or whoever my friend talked to, did go knock on the door. And it was answered. The door was answered. My best friend was waiting on my best friend / sister, we call each other sisters. She was waiting on hold while the front desk lady went and knocked on the door. So the lady came back and she said, they're fine. They're fine. They are fine. Who's they? So, my best friend ends up coming back on and saying, well, she said they're fine. So at that point, after the door knocking, and me not being able to reach him, 20 minutes later, all of a sudden, I get a phone call from him. Mind you, this is all before, the whole guy situation. So I wasn't doing any type of cheating at this time. Not that makes it okay, so calm down. But yes, it was all when things were like really good, I thought. So he ends up calling me and I answer the phone. Mind you, I know so I'm like, who is they? Why did they say, or why did the front desk ladies say that, they were fine? Who's they? Who are you in the room with? Who the fuck is they? So he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, explaining to him that I've been calling his phone. I called his hotel room phone. I'm telling him everything. So mind you, he didn't call me from his cell phone at this point. He called me from the hotel room phone. And I'm like, so what happened to your phone? He said it dropped in some water. There's a puddle and I tripped in the puddle and the phone fell into the puddle. And now it doesn't work. I'm sorry, is it not? I believe it was like 2021. Is it not 2021? Are phones not like water resistant at this point? Confusion. But anyways, his phone fell in water and he had his phone in ice. And that's why his phone was off, because it wasn't working. So I'm like, well, why weren't you answering the room phone? And he said, because the room phone doesn't work. It's messed up. Like, I really can't hear you right now. So, I haven't been trying to use it, but I fell asleep anyways. I didn't hear a ringing, but I know that, like, it was the biggest bullshit story. So that confirmed that what guy told me was fucking true. And in that point, I'm putting the two and two together. So I flat out asked guy, like, give me like some scenarios like that about the girl that I can more so tie together, because I can't go off of the Alabama situation when it comes to her. It can be any girl, but he's saying like, no, it was this particular girl. And you really need to check the DNA of her daughter. Don't believe her. And, ask Anthony about it. And at this point, I felt like if I asked Anthony, I didn't know if he would tell the truth. I don't know. I didn't know if I would get the honest, response, because he's not in the right state of mind after what we just dealt with. But I texted him and I called him and he wasn't answering the phone still. So I knew I wasn't going to get any update on Alabama story or on girl. We'll call her girl. I knew I wasn't going to get any update on her. And I couldn't go off of her bullshit because I didn't believe her. So I ended up just kind of letting him go, like, I stopped trying to call or text, because, like I said, they weren't going through. It was going straight to voicemail, so his phone was off. So I knew that I was putting too much effort into nothing at that point. But eventually I got a message. Yeah, I got a text. Okay, so I'm only gonna do one video today, to add to what happened yesterday. So yes, I got a text message. It was Anthony. He did text me and told me to leave her alone. That's what the message said. That was it. He said, leave her alone. So I'm like, first of all, my heart hit the ground. It went into my ass. And I'm like, I don't get it. Did she tell him? What? He said, leave her alone. So anyways, at that point, I'm calling. I called him probably about 33 times. And he wasn't answering the phone. He didn't block me or anything. He just wasn't answering the phone. So I ended up getting in my car. I called one of my friends. I actually called one of my mature friends because of the type of person she is. She's like my voice of reason. So I call her and I'm like, hey, normally you're the one who talks me out of this type of stuff. So here's the scenario. And I told her everything that I thought was going on. And she didn't know the girl, but she's been around her before. So normally she's like, just leave it alone. It's not the type of situation, you want to give too much energy to. So just leave it alone. That's her normal response. Not this night. This night, she said, where are you? I'm going to come to you. She comes to me and she's like, oh, we're going to go over there. However, you got to get it together. You look like shit. So she ends up doing my makeup, getting me super pretty, because she's like, if you're going to confront her, you got to show her that he's leaving something worth leaving. Anyways, so we end up going in her car, not my car, because we wanted to do a little stakeout first. So we ended up going in her car to girl's house. And we were sitting out in the driveway. His car wasn't there. Her car was there though. And the lights were on, like it was, she was home. So we didn't leave. Like, we kind of just sat there because I'm like, I think he's there. I still think he's there. I don't know. Well, I mean, I still thought he was there. I'm talking like I'm in the situation still. But anyways, we sat there for probably about 45 minutes to an hour, and I sat there for 45 minutes to an hour, and a DoorDash Uber driver came and pulled up. They both came out. So he was there. They both came out. They grabbed their DoorDash and they got into her car, a little piece of shit car, and they drove off. So my friend was like, we're gonna follow them, because she at this point was like, okay, she needs to be handled. Mind you, she wasn't the friend that really knew too much about what I had going on. So at this point, she was just angry because she thought like I was this super loyal person. And the whole time, that was going on with guys. So mind you, this is one of my best friends, but it wasn't the best friend who knew the whole story, because she really had love for my husband. So I really didn't want to include her in it. So anyways, we end up following them, and I almost not fainted because I was sitting down, but I almost passed out because of where they pulled up to. And the reason why is because, well, at first it's not where they pulled up to, it's the fact that they both got out at the place that they pulled up to. very disrespectful. And no, it wasn't our house. It was somewhere else. Somewhere who obviously, or someone's house who obviously knew more than she acted like she knew. But I'll save that for another day. So a lot of people are trying to guess what or who the house was. And I seen a lot of comments saying it was, his mom's house. And unfortunately, it was not. I know that would be very predictable, but it was not. It was not his mom's house. It was actually my friend of 20 years. I did a live a couple days ago where people were able to ask questions, and someone said, like, is there anybody who knew about everything from your side? So I did let it be known that there was only one person that I told. I mean, I like at a family friends, it was one person. She was my friend since like 2005, so she was the only one who knew about me and Guy. And that's where they pulled up to. So my friend Julie and I are sitting in the car, and we see them two both, like I said, they both got out of the car and knocked on the door, went in smoothly. We waited probably about 10 minutes. And then I usually call or text like before I'm gonna go to my friend's house, my best friend. And I didn't, so I just knocked on the door. She opened. She was super red. She's probably about my complexion, maybe a little lighter, but she was super red. I could tell that she knew why I was there. However, she tried to play cool. So I'm like, hey, what are you doing? We bought over some wine. Let's drink. Let's hang out for a little bit. It was early. It was Friday night. It was early. It was like 7:30, maybe 7:40. So we're kind of, me and Julia are kind of trying to see, first of all, why she's not letting us in the house, because I have a key. I could have just used the key. But I didn't, of course, because I wanted to see how she was going to respond. She wouldn't let us in the house. So I'm like, what the hell? This makes it so obvious. So I'm like, what are you doing? Anyways, she's like, oh, I gotta take my son to his dad's house. He's going to his dad's house for the weekend. So we're about to get him ready and, get everything together. So her son is my godson. Her son is probably like 9. And well, he's not probably like 9. He was 9. So I'm like, oh, I can help you, what does he need? And she's like, no, because we're probably going to stay there for a little bit. So I'm going to take him a bath real quick. And then, we're going to head out. And my daughter's going to stay here. So I'm like, okay, cool. So me and Julie are just going to go back to her house and, drink on our wine. That's what I told her. That's not what Julie and I did. Of course not. That's not what Julie and I did. Julie is... like I said, she's normally my voice of reason. At this time, she was not. She was like, you have like the angel and the devil on the shoulder. She was being the devil in this instant. So she's like, I don't like it. I don't like it. So we end up going to her backyard because, like I said, I had the key. And she had one of those situations where the key works for the front door and the back door. So we went to the back door. Mind you, whole time, my husband and girl is in there. So we walk in through the back door, unlocked it, and just walked in. My best friend wasn't on her first floor. She was upstairs. And in her basement, her whole basement is finished. It's beautiful, really nice basement where it's kind of like an apartment. So she had an extra room, living room, like a bathroom. It was a full thing, except for a kitchen. Anyways, of course I don't know why we didn't think let's go upstairs. Julie and I went downstairs and there was no one in the living room. My husband and the girl were not like on the main floor. So we went downstairs. There was nobody in the living room area downstairs, like in her finished basement. So Julie starts knocking on the bedroom that's down there. She knocked and knocked and knocked and tried to open it, and it was locked. So she's calling my friend's name who lives there, and she's like, hey, 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 you know. She wasn't answering. She broke the door down. She did it. I didn't do it. I wasn't gonna, do that to somebody else, somebody's house. However, she did. Hey, whatever. So she breaks down the door, and I'm standing in the living room, like kind of to the side, so they couldn't see me, but they seen her. And when she broke down the door, she froze. She did not. I thought she was gonna charge and go in and try to like do something or handle something. She just stood there and like was like in shock, like, what the fuck? And I'm like, what the fuck? What happened? Say something. At this point, she was just in shock by what she seen. All right, here we go. So Julie ended up opening the room door downstairs in the basement of my best friend's house. And like you all know, if you watched the last story, she was in shock. She was literally and she's normally not like that. So that's why it's a little weird, because normally she steps first. She was shocked. So I'm like, what the hell? What's happening? Why are you? It wasn't the girl that he pulled up with, that everybody's like, guy said that's the kid. However, I was wondering where she was, because I walked up to the room and I'm like, well, where the hell is girl if he's in here with my best friend? Like, is this like a 3 relationship? Or I was so confused at this point, because like I said, this is my best friend of 20 plus years. I mean, I'm her child's godmother, and her child has been around longer than my husband and I have been together, because he's 9. My husband and I have been together for 8. But anyways, so yes, she's in the room, and it wasn't a pleasant view. So my other best friend runs in. The situation, of course, got crazy, and her son comes running downstairs, her son and her daughter. And I'm still wondering, like, where the hell is girl? So I run upstairs. At this point, like, my mind, I don't even know. It was just so much to think about with just everything that happened with Guy. Then him being at girl's house. And then both of them coming to my best friend's house. And now it's really him with my best friend. And it's funny because everybody's just like, this is so unbelievable. Believe it. Tell me you believe it, because believe it. So anyways, yes, I run upstairs to go see where girl is. Apparently, she's outside in her car. She's on her phone. So I run out to her and I'm like, hey, like, is this like a 3-way thing? Like, what's going on? Are all 3 of you, like, from what I heard, it's you and him, not her and him. So she had no idea that they had anything going on. But she didn't, she still wasn't taking, accountability. I guess that's the word we can use. Accountability. She still wasn't admitting that there was something going on between them two. I sit out there with her maybe 3 minutes, and Guy pulls up in a car. So I'm like, well, obviously in a damn car. So I'm like, well, what the hell is Guy doing here? It's just all over the, like, everything was just all over the fucking place. It was just like, okay, we pull up here. My husband comes here with girl, who I thought he was messing with. They come to my best friend's house. Now my best friend and him are in the basement having the time of their lives. And my friend Julie walks in on them. I'm standing there like, what the hell's going on? Because girl's out in the car. I go out to girl. And now Guy is coming here. So Guy gets out of the car and he starts talking to me. He's like, what is going on? Why is she calling me, telling me you're over here, creating all this drama? So I'm like, who the fuck is she? Who's she? Is it girl or is it my best friend inside? I'm gonna put a name to her, okay? Her name is Jess as well. Anyways, I know that's so corny, but yes, my closest best friend is Jess and Jess. She was my best friend, was. So, Guy starts to ask me, like, what's going on? Why is this so sloppy? Like, oh my gosh, like, why are you over here fighting? And I'm telling him, like, well, first of all, I'm not fighting. Nobody's fighting. We don't do that. But here's the story. So I run down, like, everything that just went on. And the girl comes out and she's like, well, I know you keep asking if, you know, Anthony is my daughter's father, but I really am not lying to you. Like, she's not my daughter's father. She said Guy was her daughter's father. So I'm just sitting there like, is that why you called Guy? But why would Guy say that you're everything? This shit you just, I mean, you can make up, I guess, but you just can't make up. Like, this was one of the craziest freaking nights of my life. So she's like, I don't know why, because I'm like, well, he told me that it was Anthony that was your child's father. And he said, no, he's trying to break you and Anthony up. So I said, well, what about Alabama? She said, you need to be asking your husband about Alabama. She said, I know about Alabama. You need to be asking your husband. So at this point, like I said before, I didn't feel like Anthony he owed me any type of explanation. So I really didn't get the chance to talk to him about anything. So I go inside and I'm like, hey, like, what happened with, like, tell me about Alabama. First of all, are you talking to girl? He said no as well. And then I asked him about Alabama. Mind you, I know what you all are thinking. You're probably like, well, why the fuck are you not asking him about Jess? And that's because I wanted to ask her. I felt like she owed me more of an explanation than he did. But I'm going to get to her. And that's going to come on the next part. I did talk to Jess. And what she had to tell me, you guys, you're not going to believe that one. All right, so it is update time. I haven't posted in the last 2 days because I have my own shit going on, but I did do lives, so whatever. But anyway, so we're going to talk about the conversation that I had with Jess, who I found out that Anthony, my husband, was dealing with. So Jess and I ended up having a conversation. Girl, Julie, Anthony, Guy, they left. It was just like, okay, this is what needs to happen. Julie was kind of on standby just in case, but Jess is not the type of person who is like a rowdy type of person. Like, she's just not like a drama-filled person. So nobody was really worried about the situation. But anyways, I stood there and I was talking to her. And I asked her some questions, like basic questions that I wanted to know. And she answered them very honestly, very maturely. So about Alabama. The Alabama story, yes, that was Jess. It wasn't girl. So Jessica did end up telling me like what had happened. They drove out there. He had work, and he had invited her to go with him. Obviously, I couldn't go. My baby was probably like 3 weeks old, so I wasn't able to go. So he ended up taking her. They weren't able to answer. Well, he wasn't able to answer the phone because, like I said, they were having the time of their lives. That's when they were having the time of their lives. again. So anyways, this is everything she's telling me. Here's the real fucking tea, y'all. Her daughter looks like my son. Her daughter, who is 16, looks like my 4-year-old child. Like identical. She doesn't look like my daughter. She looks like my son. And it's not to say that she looks like a boy, because she doesn't look like, she's beautiful, but she looks like my son. And we always say that, we say that joking. So we're like, oh my gosh, he looks like your daughter. I'm not going to say the daughter's name. I'm not doing that. But I'm like, oh my God, he looks just like your daughter all the time. Like, it's a joke that we have. So she ended up telling me her and Anthony dated before I met her. And they dated for a while. So mind you, I knew her 20 years. Her daughter's 16 years old. So they were like secretly dating. He was in another relationship at the time. And sorry about that. He was in another relationship at the time, and she was dealing with him on the side. Y'all. She was dealing with him while he was in a whole nother relationship. Anyways, so it was a really like secretive thing that I didn't even know, but obviously it was in the beginning of our friendship. So, we were kind of getting to know each other a little better than what we already did. Obviously not enough. So she ended up telling me that they used to have their little situation going on for 4 or 5 years, before her and I became friends. So, and while we were friends, it was such a long situation. Whatever, who cares? I mean, we do care, right? So anyways, she did tell me that they ended up having a child together. So her daughter, who was 16 years old, and I thought she just had a deadbeat dad. And my husband was really amazing with her. Like, he loves kids though. So it wasn't something that was questionable to me. What was questionable though is when I met my husband, she hated him so fucking much. She hated him so freaking much. It was so weird. Like, all my friends thought it was the weirdest freaking thing that she just hated him so much. And we all thought it was because, other situations that he had going on, she found questionable. So now we put 2 and 2 together. Like, okay, now we understand why they really did. Like, it wasn't like she hated him. Let me not say hate. They just really did not get along for a very long time. But then things started getting better. Like, they were cool again. They would laugh. We would all drink. And I didn't think anything of it because of how much they hated each other in the beginning. Now to find out that her oldest daughter is my husband's daughter. My husband had a 16-year-old child. So yeah, she ended up telling me that part of the story, which it was shocking, but it was like how I was so in shock that there was like no feeling at that point. Like, the feelings were like, I was numb, kind of. But my best friend and my husband had a child together. Now, I didn't confront him about this yet. So she's telling me everything that I had questions about, plus more. But I felt like at that time, like I said in my previous videos, I wanted to have a conversation with her because I felt like she owed me that because of how long I knew her. And yes, him and I were married, so I get it. He should have also been the person to say like, hey, in the beginning, 8 years, like how 8 years? And then for the first 4, maybe, you guys hated each other. And now all of a sudden, maybe the last 4 years, I didn't get the time in yet at that point, but maybe the last 4 years, all of a sudden, everything's okay. We even have pictures like of all of us together. So she ends up telling me about that, and then she ended up telling me that when she would spend the night at our house, which happened often, we used to have a lot of drunk nights, and I didn't want her to have to drive home with her daughter and son, that them two would have the time of their lives in my daughter's room down the hall while I'm drunk, sleeping, passed out. And it was like it was their goal to get me drunk, sleeping, passed out. Every single time, y'all. Every time I was the one. And I'm not even like a lightweight at all. I feel like she's more of a lightweight, and she was the one who was making our drinks. So it was kind of a little funny that I was always like the superest, drunkest, if superest is a word. So anyways, she gives me all the tea, saying that, you know, they slept together very often. More than me and Guy, obviously, for all you people who probably are thinking that. So there's that. So I get everything that I needed from her, and we actually, it didn't end like on like, let's hug and be besties again. It didn't end like on a bad note, like, fuck you, I want to kill you, or anything like that. It ended like, okay, I gotta go. Like, I'm gonna go now. Thank you. All right. And she said sorry again. So I ended up leaving. I had Julie pick me up because I came in Julie's car. So I texted her to come pick me up. Plus I wanted to give her the tea, and I did. I gave her all my tea. And she said, well, you need to talk to Anthony now. Like, I feel it's only right. Like, you're owed that much. Like, you gave him what he needed to know about what happened with you and Guy. Now it's time for you to find out from his side or his point of view, even though you know he should be the one who tells you that. Because at this point, the D word at the courthouse is like, this is mutual. Nobody gets one thing or the other. Like, it's a mutual, like, let's figure this out. So I call him, and he was with Guy and girl. Those three were together. And Julie, I had asked Julie, like, hey, he feels like we need to meet in a public place. Like, do you want to come? And like, I'll go talk to him, and you go wherever you got to go and kind of just wander around. So I meet up with him, and we went to this place called Arizona's. I think it was Arizona's. So him and I are sitting at a booth. Everybody else was at the bar. So I ask him, tell me the truth about your child. You will not believe what this mother sucker said to me. And I was just like, the nerve that you would have to even, like, who the hell do you think you are? All right, update. So we meet at Arizona's. We're at the bar area. And of course, the first question that I asked him was, what's up? Why the fuck for this long? Not even just 4 years, but before. Now, for everybody that has the question of how the hell did you have a best friend for 20 years and you didn't know who her baby daddy was? Bitch, because she didn't want me to fucking know. And when I met her, she had a whole man who she said was her baby dad, and he was a deadbeat. They broke up. He left her kid. She never wanted to put him on child support because he left her kid, and she doesn't want to force anybody to be financially a parent that doesn't want to be one. That's not my fucking job to make her feel otherwise. So let me just put that out there. That's not the type of person I am. And okay, pass your judgment. But anyways, so yes, them two dealt with each other while she had a boyfriend and he had a girlfriend 20 years ago. They cheated on both of them cheated on their spouses, and she ended up pregnant with her child. Anthony ended up being the father. Okay, so fast forward to now when I met Anthony. She didn't want Anthony to be in her daughter's life. Her decision, that's their decision that they made before I came around. So he wasn't. His first child that he had was 5 when I met him. So I didn't know anything that he had another kid at this point. So he ended up seeing that Jessica was my best friend. And when I bought her around, like I said, she didn't want anybody to know that he was the father. He didn't want anybody to know that he was the father. So when I bought her around, she ended up telling him, you know, like, I'll let her know. Because he told her, oh, well, you know, I love her. Like, I want to marry her. I really want to be with her. So don't say anything about our child. And she was desperate. And she told him that, okay, she'll keep it a secret if he starts to mess with her again and allow her to be the side piece. I don't know what his logic was behind agreeing to that, but he did. They ended up sleeping together. He enjoyed it. She enjoyed it. She was willing to do things in the room and put objects in places that I wasn't willing or felt like should be in certain places. Whatever. I guess that's why men do what they do when they cheat. According to everybody, all the men who are posting, men cheat for the sex and women cheat for the emotional bullshit. Anyways, so yes, he dealt with her for the 4 years because he didn't want her to tell me about their situation with their daughter. He didn't want me to know about that situation. However, he ended up sticking with it, obviously, because I wasn't open to certain things that she was. So fast forward to girl. So for everybody who keeps fucking asking why I'm like showing so much justice to guy and not saying his name, his fucking name is Aaron. Okay? He doesn't give a fuck if you know his name now. His name is Aaron. So Aaron was a part of the story because him and Anthony were best friends. Girl got involved because she was dating Aaron. And Jess was a part of their whole little crew. So Jess used girl, who I can't say her name. Jess used her to be the middleman between Anthony and Jess. So she would have Aaron drop off Anthony to girl, and girl would take Anthony to Jess's house. This is everything they fucking did to keep what they had going on a secret, and to make it seem like the whole time it was girl who I should be suspicious about, in which I was. I mean, I wasn't obviously in the beginning until Aaron told me like, hey, you know, girl is dealing with him and her daughter is his. And it's like, oh my God, he fucking told me all this, but he was really talking about this bitch the whole fucking time. So everything that I'm telling you is stuff that I'm receiving from Anthony. So this is all the information that I'm telling you he's given me. So for all of y'all wondering if girl's child is Anthony's or Aaron's, that's still questionable, because Anthony ended up telling me that yes, while Aaron was also messing with girl, Anthony also slept with her a couple times too. So this is all, listen, fucking listen. I can't make this up. So he said, yes, she was supposed to be the middleman, but because we were around each other so much, it ended up happening. We ended up doing the do, and she really doesn't know if Anthony or Aaron is the father of her child. They did do a DNA test. However, it's that recent where Aaron and Anthony do not know yet. The results haven't been released yet. So it must have happened within the last couple weeks. Like I said, this is stuff he's telling me. You'll ask him if you have fucking questions. That's on y'all. So he tells me about girl who, like I said, I can't release her name. And I take all this information. And of course, you know, yes, I cheated on him, and I was dealing with Aaron, which by the way was, you know, something that they decided to set up. So Anthony and Jess thought it would be a great idea to have Aaron try to see if he can make a situation happen with me, because I guess he didn't want to be the only fucking guilty person in a marriage. It was just like, why not end it? But anyways, I took the fucking bait. Yes, the fuck I did. I took the fucking bait. The next part that pissed me off was Anthony, after telling me all this, feels like at that point he didn't know whether or not he wanted to let go of all of the situations that he had going on and only be in a situation with me. So I asked him, like, well, what is your plan? Because we are married. We need to now either go to counseling. We need to talk about it. We need to figure out what our next step is. And he asked me one question. And I will tell you what that question was and what happened when he asked me that question. And if you want to give me, if you want to post what the hell you think it is, I'm pretty fucking sure you're not going to guess what the question is. But he asked me some questions. And at that point, I was just like, this doesn't get any fucking better or worse. Like, this is just what's happening.
Alright, y'all, so that's enough of this story, man. She has not yet posted an update, but this is definitely a crazy story. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this story in the comments below. Sound like it was a lot of infidelity going on, you feel me? But I appreciate y'all for tuning in and rocking with me, man. Make sure y'all like the video if you haven't done so already. Make sure y'all subscribe. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. It's your boy Ray Big Play. Peace.